Every time you reach for that phone out of habit, every time you open that app like a slave begging for his master's approval, you lose a piece of yourself, your stillness, your fire, your edge. You become a man on autopilot, dead behind. The eyes scrolling past his destiny like it's just another post. You weren't born to be fed by algorithms. You weren't built to be a slave to impulse. You were built for war, for struggle, for solitude. And this week, you return to that version of yourself, the raw one, the hungry one. Delete the damn app. Turn off every notification like you're ripping chains off your brain. Let the silence punch you in the chest. Let your nerves shake. Let your cravings scream. That's not weakness. It's detox. That's the sound of a dying addiction gasping for air. And you don't save it. You starve it. You let it rot. Then you rise, stone-faced, sharper than ever. Seneca said, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." And now, slavery looks like comfort. Sounds like notification pings. Wears the mask of pleasure, but the chains, they're real. Freedom isn't found in what feels good. It's found in what makes you powerful. You starve the mindless. You feed the meaningful. You choose books over reels, walks over dopamine, pain over sedation, purpose over pleasure, and then the voice that once begged for entertainment falls, silent, and in that silence, something ancient wakes up. The man who stops running from boredom, he becomes terrifying, he becomes present, eyes locked, mind still, hands steady. He walks slower, speaks less, but when he moves, people feel it. The fake version of you begins to decay, the one who laughed at memes while his goals collected dust, the one who needed distractions like oxygen. That man dies, and no one misses him. Now people start asking, what happened to you? Why are you so distant, focused, unreachable? Because you've stopped picking up calls from your vices. You've gone cold? You've gone monk mode. You've entered a season of silence and discipline, and the world can't follow you there. You've made yourself sacred again. You no longer beg for comfort. You hunt clarity. You track peace like prey. You've stopped feeding your addictions because now you feed your soul. You've become dangerous because nothing owns you anymore. Now, let's step into number 3, where you train like your life depends on it. After training like your life depends on it, now it's time to understand a truth the Stoics knew all too well. Your body is the foundation. Mucius Rufus, one of the toughest minds in Stoic philosophy, once said, "We must take care of the body, not only to have it serve the soul, but also to strengthen it. Your body is your base. And without a solid base, the whole house collapses. A weak body breeds a weak mind. A strong body, it forges a mind of steel. Every rep, every drop of sweat, every burning second, it's not exercise, it's a battle cry. I will not be weak. You don't retreat, you advance. By the end of this week, you won't just move differently, you will become a force. People will feel your presence before you ever step in the room. They'll see it in how you stand, tall, shoulders back, eyes locked. Like you've been to war and returned unbreakable. Your posture shifts. Your gaze cuts. Your steps thunder with intention. Each one screaming, "I've earned this." Train with ferocity. Train like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Movement that drowns every excuse. Let your sweat purge your doubt. Let pain sharpen your clarity. And when you look in the mirror at week's end, the man staring back won't be the same. Not because he looks different, but because he radiates something different. Power, presence, purpose. You won't just respect that man, you'll fear what he's capable of. And if you've gained control of your body, then it's time to take back the two things even more sacred, your time and your space. Next up, number 4, become ruthless with your time and space. You've defended your time. You've guarded your space. Now it's time to face the most brutal battlefield of all, the mirror. Broken promises, quiet breakdowns, the masks you wear when no one's watching, and the lies you whisper to yourself just to survive another soft day. But this week, the games end. The illusions die. The mirror becomes your battleground, your confessional. You don't approach it gently. You storm it like a madman desperate for truth. You get close, so close you feel your own breath. Bouncing back and you say it, no filter, no smile. No sugar. You spit out the filth you've swallowed for years. I'm a fraud when no one's looking. I've let fear rewrite my story. I blame others because I'm too scared to lead. I abandoned the man I was born to be. Say it like a roar. Let the guilt rise. Let the shame hit like a bat to your ribs. Let your soul tremble under the weight of honesty, because that's the only weight that builds real muscle. This isn't self-hate. It's self-respect, and sometimes that respect only comes after you rip yourself apart. Epictetus didn't care about comfort. He said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Translation? You're not a victim, you're a collaborator in your own destruction. You let weakness rent space in your soul. You served fear breakfast in bed, but not anymore. You declare war, not on the world, but on the rot inside. You burn every excuse, every justification, every "I'll start tomorrow." You slaughter the old self like a traitor, and then write. There, still staring into your own eyes, you breathe. Not in relief. In rebirth, you whisper, that man is gone, and I'm done asking for forgiveness. From that moment, you begin to write. Each day, one savage, sacred page. Your regrets, your rage, the fire still flickering inside your bones. Because when your truth bleeds from your hand into words, you become untouchable. You stop being a prisoner of your past. You become the author of your resurrection. And after 7 days of holy war, you return to the mirror. But this time, you don't blink. You don't smirk. You don't flinch. You stare into your own eyes and you see something wild. Something dangerous. A man who crawled through his own ashes and stood, not softer, stronger, not cleaner, realer, because the mirror doesn't lie. And now neither do you. And what's coming next isn't just a reflection, it's a revelation, the final truth. That this wasn't a week of healing, it was a week of resurrection. Some people walk into a room and the air shifts, like the walls themselves hold their breath. It's not performance, it's presence. And you know that feeling because you are that man. Hey, Stoic friends, welcome back. They won't say it. Most can't even name it, but they feel it. That invisible shift when you enter. The room stills. The atmosphere tightens. You're not smiling to please. You're not polished to impress. But there's a pull, a weight, and it stops people mid-sentence like something ancient just stepped in. You don't try to stand out. You simply exist differently. And that difference cuts through noise like a blade through silk. This isn't about a tailored suit or a chiseled jaw. It's not the brand on your wrist or the game you play. That's surface dust. Anyone can buy that. What you carry can't be sold. It's carved, it's earned. It's the weight of silent wars you've never shared, the ache behind your stillness, the fire behind your calm. People sense it, even if they can't explain it. That's why they look at you like you've walked where they haven't, because you have. You don't raise your voice. The air does it for you. Your calm isn't peace. It's power under control, like a man who's wrestled chaos and forced it to kneel. Women glance again, not for what they see, but for what they feel. Men go quiet, not out of fear, but instinct. That presence doesn't whisper, it haunts. It doesn't ask for respect, it commands it without a word. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction." But you weren't just polished, you were shattered, rebuilt, alone, in the dark, while others were performing. You were transforming. No spotlight, no applause, just you, the pain, and the decision to rise. You bled in silence. You walked through hell, not to prove a point, but because no one was coming to save you. Now, you are the storm. You are the aftermath. You are survival in silence. This video, not for the man chasing approval, not for the one needing validation. It's for the man who's been misread, misunderstood, even feared. Not because he's done anything, but because people feel something in him they can't explain. That quiet danger, that raw authenticity, that grounded knowing that says, "I owe no one an explanation." If that's you, you're about to understand why people react the way they do around you, and why you must never shrink again. Don't skim this. Don't treat it like just another video. Let the words tear through the fog. Let them remind you who you've become and what it cost you. This isn't information. This is recognition. This is your reflection. In verbal form, every trait we call out from here on, you didn't fake it. You forged it through heartbreak, through silence, through war zones of the mind. You don't just deserve respect, you've become it. Write this in the comments like it's carved into your skin. My presence speaks before I do. Not as a quote, but as truth, as warning, as fact. Now, hit like, comment, subscribe. But more than that, feel this. Let it ignite you. Let it remind you why your silence is louder than most men's screams. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You are the proof. Stand tall. Stand still. And let the world adjust to your frequency. Because from now on, you walk in as a storm wearing skin. You don't create impression. You are the impression. And what unsettles people most is not noise, it's your terrifying stillness. That stillness, it's not peaceful, it's unnerving. It reminds others just how loud they've been, just to avoid their own reflection. When you enter, the room doesn't just notice, it recalibrates. People adjust themselves, not for style, not for etiquette, but out of pure survival instinct, because your presence shakes the lies they built their identity on. Scripts start to slip. Words lose rhythm. Because deep down, they know you don't stare, you read, you don't watch, you register, and when your eyes land on someone, it's not attention. It's judgment. You remind them, without a word, of everything they're pretending not to be. Women feel it in ways they can't explain. It's not charm, it's not looks, it's gravity, that savage elegance. That doesn't flirt, it pulls. You don't chase, you don't beg, you just exist like a storm wrapped in flesh, like something that survived its own fire and now wears smoke like cologne. You are not a man who talks, you are a man who knows. And that knowing, that calm, ruthless clarity, it seduces, it destroys. You don't need to touch. Your silence already did. You don't try to impress. Your stillness already disturbed their illusion. You carry the weight of battles never spoken. And that weight doesn't sit. It shakes. Not from weakness, but from presence, from power. You're not loud because you're full of lessons. Carved in solitude. Full of scars you didn't hide. Full of calm so dangerous, it makes chaos feel safe. People don't know whether to respect you or fear you, or both, and that tension, that awe wrapped in discomfort. That's the mark of a man who doesn't enter. He disrupts. Epictetus once said, "Know first who you are, but you did more. You burned everything that wasn't you, and now you walk like the ghost of a former life that didn't survive you." That's why they tremble. That's why they laugh too hard, speak too fast, smile too wide. It's not awkwardness, it's spiritual recoil, because you remind them, without lifting a finger, what real presence looks like, what manhood truly feels like. And to those still clinging to illusion, you're not inspiration. You're a threat. So when you see them shifting in their seats, when the room falls quiet, when they won't hold your gaze, don't flinch, don't doubt. That's not rejection, it's recognition. You've become a mirror they can't face, a silence they can't lie in, a presence they can't fake their way past. That's not awkwardness, that's unspoken power, and it belongs to you. Now let's move to truth number 2. Women are drawn to you. Even when you never chase them, you don't chase women. And that alone disorients them, because in a world where men pursue, you choose. That's what shatters her conditioning. She's used to being chased, not chosen. Your discipline is your cologne. Your peace is your aura. Your boundaries are carved in steel. You're not afraid to walk away, and that alone separates you from 99% of men, because you're not starving for love. You're feasting on purpose. She sees it in your posture, in your pace, in the way you'd rather sit in silence than entertain chaos. You're not chasing butterflies. You're building a garden they beg to land in. A woman doesn't fall for a man like you because of compliments. She falls because your presence helps her remember herself. Her femininity unlocks, her chaos calms, her walls lower, not because you tried to win her, but because you made her feel safe enough to come to you. So when she stays longer, when her laughter softens, when her eyes search for yours in a crowd, it's not luck, it's not charm, it's the silent power of a man who doesn't beg, because he became the source. Drop this in the comments like a war cry. I attract by being whole, not hungry. Truth 3. You carry a calm that feels unshakable. You weren't born with peace in your hands. You earned it, not in temples, not through therapy apps, but in fire, in sleepless nights where silence screamed louder than chaos, in moments where everything cracked, your plans, your pride, your heart. And you didn't run. You stayed, you bled, you rebuilt. That's why your calm doesn't feel like a personality trait. It feels like a battle scar, and people sense it the moment they stand near. You, in a world drowning in panic, where everyone's screaming to be seen, your stillness isn't rare. It's sacred. You walk into a room, and it's not volume that turns heads. It's your absence of noise. The way your eyes hold silence, like they've seen what others wouldn't survive. The way your body doesn't flinch even when the energy shifts. You become the kind of man who doesn't need to raise his voice because his presence already did. Women feel it instantly, not as charm, not as smooth words, but as weight. In your silence, the way you listen without interrupting, the way your breath remains steady while hers falters. You don't rush. You don't chase. You anchor. She doesn't feel the need to impress. She feels permission to be real, and that permission, that stillness, it feels like freedom. Your calm doesn't mean you don't feel storms. It means you've learned to hold them. You carry them like a sword on your back, not to threaten, but to remind the world, I've survived worse. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." You are that retreat, a walking sanctuary, not because life spared you, but because you refused to surrender to its noise. So when someone calls you chill, they're not being casual, they're confessing that for the first time in a long time, they could breathe. You didn't just calm the room, you healed it. Drop this in the comments like a declaration. I am the calm in the storm. And now we continue into the next truth. People respect you, even if they don't like you. You are the calm in the storm, but you're also the line that divides truth from pretense. And that clarity, it shakes people. You walk through the world like a man on a mission, and men like that rattle the cowards. You carry an ancient, unshakable energy, the kind that makes liars nervous, the weak uneasy, because your very presence exposes them. You don't need to preach. Your discipline speaks louder than their distractions ever could. You've lost people, not by accident, but by refusal. You refused to tolerate what disrespected your peace. You refused to play dumb to keep the room comfortable. You refused to pretend while others wore masks. And in a world addicted to flattery and fakery, that refusal becomes a threat. Let them call you arrogant. Let them whisper. Let them walk away, because those who leave your honesty were never built to stand beside your truth. The ones who stay, they never question your spine. They know behind your silence burns a fire that won't sell out for our applause. Stoicism says, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish, because real growth looks like rebellion. In a world that fears authenticity, but you've already chosen your side, you'd rather walk alone with your soul, intact, than ride with a crowd who traded theirs to fit in. That's why they talk when you're gone. That's why they hesitate to speak your name, because deep down, they know you're one of the last real ones left. You don't demand respect. You become the storm that makes it non-negotiable. Truth, Lashkar 5, you make people reflect on themselves. Not. Everyone leaves your presence uplifted. Some leave feeling pierced, cracked open. But that discomfort isn't your fault. It's your power. You don't just enter a room. You hold up a mirror. Suddenly they see themselves, not the version they post, but the one they've been avoiding. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your peace reveals their chaos. Your growth makes their stagnation obvious. And that kind of presence burns into memory. You don't preach, you don't pressure, you simply exist, so boldly, so honestly. They have no choice but to face themselves. Some admire, some resent, but both are reacting to the same truth. You've become what they've avoided becoming. You trained your mind, built rituals while they built distractions, faced your demons while they decorated theirs. That contrast, it hits places in them they didn't know were hollow. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And you did. You don't just wear your values, you bleed them. Your life is a quiet sermon that echoes louder than any speech. That's why women don't just notice you, they feel changed around you. You challenge them without speaking, inspire them without trying. You force them to ask, "Am I ready to stand beside a man like this? Or will I be left behind by my own
comfort?" And if they vanish, let them. Because when they come back months later and say, "You made me rethink everything,"
believe them. That wasn't conversation. That was transformation. You don't chase approval, you leave awakenings. You don't entertain, you transform. You don't just enter the room, you rearrange its atmosphere. And now it's time to go deeper. You've stopped choosing just people. Now you choose your standards for everything you allow into your world. After choosing your standards, you chose something even deeper, yourself.
And that decision made you dangerous in a world built on instant gratification. You're not led by lust, by loneliness, or the hunger for attention that consumes most men from the inside out. You killed that weak voice inside you
that once begged to be loved, and you raised a quieter, deeper one that whispers, "Protect your energy at all costs." And that's exactly what you do now. Not with ego, but with ruthless clarity. There was a time you gave too easily. You welcomed chaos because it looked beautiful. You allowed access just because someone smiled, flirted, or made you feel wanted for a fleeting second. But pain became your teacher, silence your sanctuary, solitude your rebirth. You suffered the consequences of being too open, too giving, too eager. Now your soul wears armor, forged from every time you gave to someone who only came to take. You don't hand out your attention. You curate your life like sacred space. You don't walk away from disrespect. You vanish from it like smoke from a fire that never deserved your warmth. You don't explain your silence. You don't defend your distance, because distance is now your language, and those who understand your worth feel exactly what it says. I don't need you.
I choose me. Most people will never understand how a man can want something and still say no. But you've learned. Self-control is the highest form of power. To look temptation in the eye and walk away without flinching. That's what
separates kings from clowns. You're not here to consume, you're here to build. And anything or anyone that doesn't sharpen your edge becomes background noise. Left behind without regret. You've seen too much, felt too much, touched chaos with bare hands. And now, peace is your currency, and you spend it wisely. You don't give time to people who talk in circles. You don't give your heart to smiles with hidden knives. You don't invest in beauty without depth, or energy that drains instead of elevates. You built your kingdom in silence, brick by brick, scar by scar. Not everyone deserves an invitation. That's not being picky, that's self-respect. So when a woman feels you pulling back, she's not just feeling rejection, she's feeling your spiritual filtration system. She's feeling the boundary of a man who's been burned and has no time to play with fire that doesn't warm his future. She's feeling the space between your desire and your discernment. And in that space, boys disappear. And only queens.
Remain. You're not cold. You're calibrated. You don't say no because you don't feel. You say no because you bled for your standards and promised yourself never again will temporary beauty cost you permanent peace. You no longer crave attention. You command energy, not with noise, not with games.
But with a soul so grounded, so composed, so beautifully unshakable, that people adjust just to stand near your frequency. So when you're selective, remember, you're not rejecting them. You're respecting you. You're reminding the world. Power isn't loud, it's precise. And that's why when you leave, people don't just miss you, they remember the silence you left behind. Now we arrive at the final truth. You've turned pain into presence. A presence that shifts the air the moment you walk in. Once you stopped letting the noise define you, you began walking through life like a quiet wave, but one that carries the weight of a storm that has learned to walk tall. Not chaos, but command, not noise, but presence. The kind of presence no man can fake and no woman can forget. There are parts of you no one will ever truly understand. Wounds that were never turned into words. Nights that screamed so loud inside you, you forgot how to sleep. You've buried dreams. Let go of people who once felt like home. Sat in silence so long it became your native tongue. But you never begged. You never collapsed. You let every drop of agony forge something sacred inside you. And now that pain echoes through everything you do. It's not seen. It's felt in the way you look at someone, not just with your eyes, but with the full weight.
Of every moment that taught you what love isn't, what loyalty doesn't look like, and what life becomes when you stop running. Your presence doesn't entertain.
It awakens. You don't charm people into comfort. You challenge them into awareness because you carry a kind of depth that makes the shallow tremble. You've tasted betrayal and stayed soft. You've been abandoned and remained loyal to yourself. You've walked through hell and refused to become it. And now that quiet power follows you like a shadow. You don't need to speak much. Your energy does the talking. It says, I've known darkness, and I don't fear yours. Women sense this before you say a single word. They feel it in how you don't chase, how you don't flinch, how you don't try to impress. You're not playing the game. You're not selling illusions. You are a man forged in silence, anchored in pain, and armored in self-respect. And a man like that doesn't seduce. He summons. He doesn't seek approval. He becomes the standard. That's why some are pulled to you like gravity and others run like hell. Because when someone meets your soul with ease, they're forced to meet their own. This is Stoicism in its purest form.
Not emotionless, but unshakable, not numb, but precise. Epictetus once said, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him to himself. And you were revealed in fire. You didn't break. You burned brighter. You didn't fall apart. You became indivisible. You no longer need to be understood.
You've outgrown the need to explain. Now you just walk. And every step whispers, this man earned his peace the hard way. Don't disturb it unless you come with truth. So if people hesitate around you, if they struggle to hold your gaze, if they walk away changed but never say why, know this. They didn't meet a story. They met a storm that learned how to walk like a man. And if these signs didn't just sound familiar, but cut through you like a truth you've always known, but never said out loud, understand, this wasn't just a video. It was a mirror, a reflection of the man you've been quietly fighting to become. A man who didn't just climb out of darkness, but dragged himself up by the throat. A man who didn't beg to be seen, but built himself in silence while the world looked away. This isn't about being liked, not about charm, not about cheap validation. This is about something much rarer, inner power that doesn't flinch. A presence sculpted from solitude, discipline, and the brutal art of letting go. Most will never understand it. That's why they stare. That's why they stay silent. Because when a man rises from ashes without bitterness, when he becomes whole without applause, his presence doesn't just attract, it commands. You're not just attractive. That word is far too small. You are undeniable. You walked through fire and then refused to become smoke. You outlasted the noise,
Outlived the storms, and now you stand as living proof that self-respect isn't just powerful, it's irresistible. You don't chase love, you attract it through truth. You don't scream for attention, you pull it with your silence. And in a world addicted to noise, your stillness is deafening. This is Stoicism lived, not quoted. This is what happens when a man becomes anchored instead of reactive, when he responds instead of explodes.
when he chooses peace over proving a point and purpose over being understood. So if something in your chest lit up, if a flame you forgot you had started to flicker again, don't let it die. Feed it, protect it, honor it, because the man you are becoming no longer belongs in the shadows. He has earned his place in the light, not by pretending, but by persevering. If this message hit home, hit that like button like you mean it. Share this with a brother walking the same quiet path. Subscribe if you want content that doesn't just talk to you, but speaks to your soul. And finally, drop your affirmation in the comments. Something only a man who's walked through fire would understand. You've earned the right to be seen. Now walk like it.